Okay, so let's talk about something I think every web developer has felt at some point. That feeling that your app is, well, fragile. The kind that leaves users staring at a blank screen or just completely crashes when one little thing goes wrong. Today, we're going to dive into how Next.js is fundamentally changing that, building a web that's not just fast, but truly resilient.
It really all starts with this. We have all been there, right? You click a link and nothing. Just a blank white screen staring back at you. It's super frustrating for the user, and it's basically the #1 sign of a fragile application.
You see, the old way of building websites was this kind of all-or-nothing deal. On the left, you've got that fragile model. You either get the entire page at once or you get that blank screen. One slow API call can hold the whole page hostage. But on the right, that's the resilient way. We show a skeleton of the page instantly, content streams in as it's ready, and if one part breaks, no big deal. It's contained. The rest of the app is fine.
So what's the magic that makes all this possible? Well, it's a core React feature called Suspense. The idea is actually pretty simple. It just gives React the power to pause rendering a component that's still waiting on data. And while it's paused, it shows a fallback UI instead. This one concept, it's the foundation for literally everything we're about to talk about.
The best way to think about it is like going to a restaurant. A bad restaurant makes you wait until your entire 3-course meal is cooked and ready before you get anything. A good one, they bring you drinks and appetizers right away. That's suspense. A user requests a page and, boom, they instantly get a fallback, a skeleton layout. Then the actual content just streams in as it's ready.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does Next.js actually use this to get rid of that awful blank screen for good? Let's talk about conquering the wait. And believe it or not, it all starts with just one super simple file. Meet loading.tsx. Seriously, this file feels like magic. All you do is create this file, put some kind of loading spinner or skeleton component inside, and that's it. Next.js just knows what to do. It automatically wraps your page in a suspense boundary and uses your component as the instant fallback. It's zero config for a massively improved user experience.
Now, a site-wide loader is great, but let's be real. What about the much more common situation where most of your page is fast, but just one part, like a heavy data chart or a social feed, is kind of slow? You definitely don't want that one piece to block everything else. And this is where granular streaming comes in. It's so cool. By manually wrapping our individual slow components in Suspense, we can totally unblock the rest of the page. So in this dashboard, maybe the user's card only takes half a second. Instead of waiting for the whole page, it just shows up, giving the user something to see almost instantly.
Then a moment later, the revenue card, which took a little bit longer, streams right in. See how it just fills in that spot without reloading anything else? And finally, our slowest component arrives, completing the dashboard. This progressive rendering thing, it completely changes how fast the page feels, and perception is everything.
Okay, so we've conquered the wait. But what happens when things don't just go slow? They actually break. An API goes down, a database query fails. Let's conquer the crash and see how we can build apps that recover gracefully instead of just falling apart.
And for this, we have another special file, error.tsx. Just like its loading cousin, Next.js knows exactly what this is for. Think of it as a safety net, an error boundary. When something goes wrong inside a certain part of your app, this component catches the error, contains the damage, and stops the entire page from crashing. So instead of a broken white screen, the user sees a helpful message. It lets them know something went wrong, but, and this is the crucial part, it's not a dead end. See that try again button? That gives the user a path forward. When the user clicks that button, the component's built-in reset function just tries again. It attempts to re-render the part that failed. And a lot of the time, if the error was just a temporary network blip, the second try works. You've just turned what would have been a catastrophic crash into a minor, recoverable hiccup. And you can be really precise with these safety nets. You could have an error.tsx just for a specific blog post route, or a more general one for your entire app directory, or even a global-error.tsx that's like the ultimate final catch-all for the whole application, including the root layout itself. This same idea of a graceful fallback also applies to content that just isn't there. Instead of showing a boring, generic 404 page, you can create a custom not-found.tsx file. That way, even when a user hits a dead end, it's still a good on-brand experience. So, what happens when we put all of these pieces together? The instant loading skeletons, the granular streaming, the isolated error handling, these aren't just a random collection of features. They're actually the building blocks for a completely new, and honestly, revolutionary way of rendering web pages.
It's called partial pre-rendering, or PPR, and it is a total game changer. Here's the brilliant part. When you build your app, Next.js generates a static shell of your page, everything that doesn't change. This shell is pure HTML, so it can be cached on a CDN and delivered instantly. All the dynamic parts are just left as holes, which are defined by those suspense boundaries we've been talking about.
So when a user hits your page, that static shell loads in a blink. Then, and only then, do the dynamic holes need to fetch their data and stream in. What you get is kind of the holy grail of web dev. The insane speed of a static site combined with the rich real-time data of a dynamic app. It really is the best of both worlds.
All right, so to wrap it all up, we use loading.tsx to give users an instant experience. We use suspense boundaries for that slick, progressive streaming. We use error.tsx to make our app tough and resilient with a built-in retry. And all of these pieces come together to power partial pre-rendering, giving us static speed with dynamic data. You know, when you start building apps this way, when you start thinking about resilience from the very beginning, you're doing way more than just preventing crashes. You're building a fundamentally better experience. Performance and stability are no longer things you have to trade off against each other. So the final question isn't just about making your app unbreakable. It's about what incredible new things you can build now that your foundation is rock solid.